us tells you stories which others won't. And tonight we will tell you about this new strategic map that is being drawn.
They say your enemy's enemy is your friend. Is that the foundation of the new defense bridge between India and America?
This is what separates us from others who claim to be telling you global stories that matter. In the last 3 days, WION has been traveling across Syria. You are in Latakia city right now. Tell us, what is the situation on ground? At Gravitas, we don't just tell you stories from selected countries from around the world.
2 years since the Myanmar military coup, the people of Myanmar continue to live in a nightmare.
Because it does not suit their propaganda, or because they are too scared to speak truth to power.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and
I'm Erik Njoka and this is WION The World is One. We are glad you're watching. This week we go to church quite literally, but their belief in the impossible has gone a notch higher and is causing immense agony and misery to many believers. We tell you about a shocking story in Kenya where congregants of a cult are made to believe that they will meet God after starving themselves. The discoveries are harrowing and staggering. Welcome to World of Africa. Now, Kenyan police continue to unearth corpses in shallow graves in the coastal town of Malindi, thought to be followers of a Christian cult. The death toll, which has repeatedly risen as exhumations have been carried out, could rise further. But what really happened? How did the purported pastor, Paul Mackenzie, convince such a huge number of people to believe that they would see God if they starved themselves? And how did the pastor escape the authorities' dragnet? These are some of the questions that many Kenyans are pondering over ever since the horror story broke in early April. Here now is a report.
It's been called one of the worst crimes in modern-day Kenyan history. The spine-chilling case unfolded in the first week of April when 4 Kenyan Christian faithful died while being rescued from a house. They were found in an emaciated state due to a fasting session started by a local pastor. 15 others were rescued alive and taken to hospital.
The information received is that the people there were being starved after being radicalized by a certain member of a church who told them that their work in this world is done and that they are waiting for, they should die and go and see their creator. So far, the information at hand is that there are more people who are believed to be in the bush.
Within days, police investigations revealed the suspect, Pastor Paul Mackenzie.
Terrorists use religion to advance their heinous acts. People like Mr. Mackenzie are using religion to do exactly the same thing.
Mackenzie was arrested last month for allegedly encouraging parents of 2 boys to starve and suffocate their children to death. He was later released. During a court appearance in that case, Mackenzie said he was unaware of the events that led to the deaths of the 2 boys. Mackenzie claimed he was the target of hostile propaganda from some of his former colleagues.
2017 is when police got interested in this person. But I'll let you know. There are many other people we are following up, we are interested in, whom we believe are involved in similar issues.
Police reported his rearrest on the 15th of April after discovering bodies of 4 of his followers whom he had allegedly told to starve their bodies to death in order to meet Jesus. Since his arrest, Kenyan police made other gruesome discoveries.
Katika zile miji yenye maboma yenye tumetembea kama Bethlehemu, Judea.
We have visited some homes in some villages such as Bethlehem and Judea, and in the villages you find some parents lose all their children or they themselves die. Personally, I have visited about 18 children grave sites.
Personally, nimeweza kuyatembea jana.
So far tume confirm kuna shallow graves. We have so far confirmed that there are about 15 or more shallow graves. Today, we will just identify where the shallow graves are located as we wait for directions from the government pathologist, who will authorize the exhumation of the bodies for post-mortem, and therefore we can gather enough evidence to prosecute the pastor.
Na baada ya postmortem ndio tupate ushahidi ili kuweza kumshtaki pastor yule.
Kenyan police again began exhuming remains from more than a dozen suspected graves in the east of the country. Police suspect the graves belong to followers of a Christian cult who believe they would go to heaven if they starved themselves to death. To no one's surprise, over 20 bodies were discovered in shallow graves in the bushes. Some have escaped the designs of Reverend Mackenzie, and they are narrating their ordeal. Politicians in the Kenyan county are asking the courts to hand Mackenzie maximum sentence.
We will look at a charge that will really punish the individual who was involved in this. The penal code might not be sufficient, but we will look at and see, depending on what kind of evidence we get, to be able to allow us to prefer charges that are commensurate to the crime that has just occurred here, which is horrible.
Cults are common in Kenya. There have been previous cases of people being lured into dangerous, unregulated churches, and the practice continues to grip the East African nation. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Prominent Yoruba leaders in Lagos have raised the alarm over the frightening rate at which the Yoruba culture, language, norms and traditions are declining and being eroded by Western hegemony. They observed that relevant stakeholders should rise up to ensure that the traditions of the Yoruba people within and beyond Nigeria do not become extinct. Our correspondent Louisa Olaniyi sent us this report.
The Yoruba are one of the largest ethnic groups in Nigeria. Their tradition is widely practiced and celebrated in the southwestern part of the country, and also in countries like Togo, Benin Republic, Republic of Congo, USA, and Brazil. Once a proud and vibrant culture, the rich traditions of Yoruba are now under threat. Yoruba cultural values are witnessing a gradual erosion, causing irreversible damage to the very foundation of their identity. The younger generations are less engaged in traditional cultural practices, including the Igungun culture. Of note is the artistic portrayal of the Igungun Masquerade in the trending movie Gang of Lagos. There has been outrage over the image of Igungun Masquerade as some consider it sacrilegious and distasteful to the sensibility of the indigents of the state. Others have waved off the criticisms on the basis that the film was just an artistic representation.
In the modern world, you have the old and then the new. There is a civilization, and that is what is affecting the culture. Once upon a time, you'll find people everywhere. You'll find the Egungun around. How do you find them around now? Because of the modern world, because of civilization, because of the effect of education on people.
The Igungun Festival, which is a colorful celebration involving masquerades wearing elaborate costumes, is a significant event for the Yoruba community. It is believed that the masquerades represent the spirits of ancestors, and they are treated with reverence and respect. Cultural experts say Igungun is not just a festival for the Yoruba people, but it's a way of connecting with ancestors, seeking their blessings and maintaining heritage. However, in recent years, there have been instances of disrespectful behavior towards the Igungun masquerades. Videos have surfaced on social media showing people mocking and mistreating masquerades, pulling their costumes and even assaulting them. Custodians of the Yoruba culture are unhappy.
What you are trying to see there is The masquerade we are talking about is Egungun and the Igunoko, the long masquerade like this. As Yorubas today, we don't want to forget the tradition of Yorubas. But our elders, the government, they don't want to recognize what we call the Yoruba tradition. And this Yoruba tradition is very, very good in Nigerian culture. I can even say Yoruba tradition is the best out of the three zones that we have in Nigeria as of today.
It's important to note that culture is complex and dynamic, and there are many factors that can influence the respect for cultural practices. It's also worth mentioning that while some individuals may show less interest or respect for traditional cultural practices, others may still hold them in high regard and continue to preserve and promote them.
The sad reality is that the respect not just for the Yoruba Egungun Masquerade, but on most African traditions has diminished over time. These once revered spiritual entities, believed to embody the spirits of ancestors and deities, are now often met with indifference, disrespect, and even ridicule. But who takes the blame for these changes? As a lot sure needs to be done. From Lagos, Nigeria, Louisa Olani, WION, World is One.
Every year, Egyptians celebrate the Shamil Nasim Day in the spring through coloring eggs, eating fermented or salted fish, and gathering at public parks or beaches. Fermented fish or fesik, a traditional plate Egyptians eat throughout the year, but especially on Shamil Nasim, is also highly at stake this year. Here now is a report from Al Mansoura.
In Nabaro, in the heart of the Nile Delta, the streets are dotted with stalls that give off a powerful aroma, the typical scent of the salted and fermented fish that the Egyptians call fesik. The technique has been the same since the time of the pharaohs. This freshwater fish is first dried and then dipped in salt for several weeks before adorning the table of the Egyptians, who delight in it despite its odor which catches your nose. Today, while the dish and especially its smell is divisive, it is still a staple of the Shamil Nasim celebrations. The festival, whose name means smell the breeze in Arabic, marks the arrival of spring. It is being celebrated since pharaonic times and is still celebrated by the 105 million Egyptians, both Muslim and Christian.
Whether or not it's the holiday season, we always get a lot of customers. Definitely in seasons we always have more customers. In Nabaru, from all over Egypt.
I always drive for 30 minutes from Garbia to buy fasik from Nabaru. A fasik here is totally different than any other city. Nabaru is famous in that field. Me and my family like it. We all like it.
This fish is prepared according to very precise rules, and any mistake, a fish that is still too wet or a salting that is light, can make this typical dish a carrier of botulism, a food infection that can turn fatal sometimes.
There is nothing called deadly fesik. Trust me, no matter how bad the fesik is, the worst case is to do stomach pumping.
Although fasting people fear that the high salt content of the fish will make them thirsty the next day. Yemeni says that this year he has received orders a week before Ramadan begins. The love for the dried fish seems to overcome fears of dehydration, and his shop is always full even in the middle of Ramadan.
Personally, for many years I didn't eat fasik, but my sons made me like it. Once I brought fasik in Ramadan for them and I found they eat in suhoor. Since then I realized that there is something wrong with me, so I became a fasik fan.
With a sharp eye, ready to spot the slightest mistake, Al-Yamani supervises his employees as they stack the fish in large wooden barrels under thick layers of coarse salt, so that his customers can soon adorn their tables in Shamil Nasim with the best fesik. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
In South Africa, a 14-year-old boy harnessing his dreams of one day becoming the first black Moto GP superstar. Here's the story of Ora from Johannesburg.
The roaring exhausts of the motorbikes on this track give you a sense of the adrenaline, agility, speed and fun of the riders. This circuit has a lot of participants who test the power of their machines. There are also fans who throng this Johannesburg track to watch and learn. One of them is Ora Tilwe Firi. Ora, as he is fondly known, has been racing in local competitions since he was 4, thanks to an interest ignited by his motorcycle enthusiast father, Thabiso Firi.
My dad would usually take me to track days that he would use because he used to ride. He would take me to track days and I'd always be fascinated at seeing bikes. And then eventually he got me a small little pocket bike and then I started from there.
Grand Prix motorcycle racing has been historically dominated by European racers. The teenager's idol, Brad Binder, who he met last month, is the first and only South African to win a race in Moto GP. And now Ora is inspired to do something greater.
Overseas, there's not really a lot of black races there. So then it's really something I want to do, be the first black person to be racing overseas in a series of Moto GP overseas. I really want to get there and be a champion. Want to be one of the first South African champions as well.
Ora's father does his best to keep his son in his spirits and achieve his goal. With a towel and a spray bottle in hand, an excited Thabiso keeps himself busy as he readies Ora's bike for yet another race.
It is so fulfilling to see him excel and do so well. And you know, sometimes you think, he's very good at this. And then when you hear other people tell you the same thing, and especially people that are very good at this and that have been doing it for years, then you know, that's when you're like, yeah, no, honestly, my son is, he just makes my eyes, you know, swell up with pride. I can't put it into words. He makes me so proud.
The biggest thing which gives Ora the potential to go all the way to the top is that he's got the right mindset. He's very driven, very hungry, fully committed. And I'm watching, you know, a young man grow up before my eyes. I hope to point him in the right direction. But the dream and the goal for us is to see Ora as a world champion one day.
For now, Ora always keeps his gear in check and is more than ready to rev it up to stardom someday. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
And finally, let's return to South Africa, this time in Pretoria. If you are below 55 years of age and complain of tiredness, body pain, old age, then we will ask you to stop everything you're doing right now and watch these grannies on the pitch who are proving that age is nothing but just a number. And if you set your mind on keeping fit, nothing's going to stop you. Here's a report by our correspondent, Kalden Ongmu.
Sarah Shonisani is 72 years old and she's not your ordinary granny. She prides herself when she's called a soccer granny and shows off some of the accolades she's received over the years. She's keen to tell us what made her get into soccer.
Football.
I started football due to the fact that I was not working at the time and kept thinking to myself, since I'm not working, what is that I can do to keep myself busy? I then thought it would be better if I gather with other grannies in the community of Mamelodi, but because I didn't know anyone, I approached some counsellors in the community and asked them to help me assemble a team of grannies that I can train soccer with. I started playing football in the year 2010 after experiencing the World Cup in Bombela. I feel fit and strong when I gym. I say to the whole of South Africa, football does have an age of restriction. Football is important. Football heals even when someone is sick.
The Shonisani Soccer Club, founded by Sarah, started in 2010 after South Africa hosted the FIFA World Cup. The club has 13 grannies currently, aged between 55 years and going up to 80 years. Gogo Sarah says soccer has changed her life and is hopeful that one day she will be able to fulfill her other dream of flying in an aeroplane with her team.
Football is important. You will always be fit and not get sick. You will even get to travel to other countries and enjoy with others. We have been to Bombela, we've been to Benoni as representatives of Swan or Pretoria. We slept in hotels, ate well, and even got track suits. We would do anything and everything we liked. Football is important. It feeds and it gives life. I grew up looking up into the skies, seeing aeroplanes fly overhead. Sometimes I pray and hope that this football thing of mine can take me to a point where I get to go on an aeroplane.
At least thrice a week, this 72-year-old picks up a backpack, wears a cap, and heads out to meet other grannies. These soccer enthusiasts meet up in the nearby stadium and immediately get on to choosing their respective color jerseys, warm up, exercise, and instantly start kicking the ball around, beating all odds. These grannies not just run and dribble the soccer ball, some even attempt headers. Other grannies on the field echo similar sentiments as Gogo Sara.
So I play soccer because I love soccer, and I play soccer because all the stress are coming out. When I come from the field and when I go home, I just bed and I sleep like a baby. And then we just take all the sickness are coming out.
You know why I like soccer? Because I was staying at home all the time. So when you stay at home, you get sick and everything. So I was telling myself I want to go to the soccer, I want to go to the gym. I gym and I play the soccer. Because of what? I don't like chronic. I don't want to go to the hospital all the time. And I like it very, very much.
76, 72, 72, 68, 67, 67, 67, 66.
These grannies are very clear about their goals. They are fitness freaks and they want to dribble all the way to healthy life. So what's your excuse? The Shonisani Football Club is calling all women, young and not so young, to join them. This is Colin Ongmo from Pretoria, South Africa, for WION World is One.
And that's our time this week on World of Africa with me, Erik Njoka. Thank you very much for your time and for watching. Find us on our social media platforms. Your feedback is highly appreciated. And until next week, it's goodbye from me.
Tells you stories which others won't. And tonight we will tell you about this new strategic map that is being drawn.
They say your enemy's enemy is your friend. Is that the foundation of the new defense bridge between India and America?
This is what separates us from others who claim to be telling you global stories that matter. In the last 3 days, WION has been traveling across Syria. You are in Latakia city right now. Tell us, what is the situation on ground? At Gravitas, we don't just tell you stories from selected countries from around the world.
2 years since the Myanmar military coup, the people of Myanmar continue to live in a nightmare.
Because it does not suit their propaganda, or because they are too scared to speak truth to power.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yo1.com.
Stay connected with the world through WION. Like the page on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter for new alerts. Instagram for videos and images. And the website for the latest news, views and analysis. WIONews.com. World is one.